Welcome back to my lovely HP community and the 5D collective. As we were chit chatting in our free will, is knowing of the options to your emotional, mental, and physical intelligence capacity of life episode. We found science and spirituality, they come together to share with us all the opportunity for anyone who wants to be their self. Now, the true self, though, right? So, your true self is a whole self, it's the inner child adult of you. And so, that will be the pursuit of accessing your infinite higher human conscious potential and the pursuit of personal development and well being. For the ones who first need good therapy, that's what they do. And then we continue with mindfulness, living, and loving practices as we get to interact here at our 5D collective land, where we harness our humanity and we live therefore a aliveness life, because the pseudo alive people don't do aliveness, but we also live that which is a passionate life. I'm looking at my notes 1 second. Yes, and we support the future for the betterment of our herd and all life, because we're creative and energized people and mystics, of course, who access and pursue high mental, emotional, and physical intelligence, thanks to that living and loving mindfully and or spiritually, which means that with your daily practices you have that integrated brain. So you are your own somatic narrative, the feminine, divine feminine, open heart, open body. You contain emotions that come up, your own divine masculine and your father. Okay, so you are your own safe haven, secure base. You have integration of the brain, and so you are bilaterally integrated, which is why everything that comes up is all part of your star born wishes. Okay, so you get to keep manifesting as the person who is your own tree of life. That's what happens when you're a true lover, by the way, because you have securely attached core, narrative, relational, soul self. So that whole self, no charges. The eternal child is what you bring forth. So we get to explore with Krishna Lila, Kali, and Shiva. Krishna Lila explores the depths of seriousness with playfulness. An inner child adult is playful because we use our prefrontal cortex. And that's because it's not sensitive to the ego to get into relationships and to get into being ruptures or splinters or any of that. That dead end, or basically when we're meeting those who are our lovely brothers and sisters with their mannerisms, okay? So if we have adaptive child parts, the people who are the Cuscos, one, as I shared in our other episode, they have soulless and or basically our lovely God gives us free will for reasons, and then he gives us always those two opportunities, or sciences, dark matter, dark energy, and basically where it would be non-bilaterally integrated people, and Robert Sapolsky, who gives us determined his book of there's a science with no free will, but then there's also us knowing that you can actually go and reclaim that which is your body to become a person who has the somatic narrative, so sensory motor somatics, EMDR, and child parts work to get bilaterally integrated. Okay, so your well-being is accessible to all, but the determined part is important, and we have voices for the ones who don't want to go to good therapy. So why is God benevolent? Because it's not a fallen angel, Lucifer. When you go and explore Michael Stone, forensic criminologist, the evil scale, they all end up in prison. Then when we look at Patrick Tiahan, childhood trauma survivor, healed and healing therapist, the cowards who don't go to therapy, what do? They project, and then they make fun of the ones who do go to therapy. And he has his biggest regret, the unkindness that came from his childhood stuff. So anytime we meet low self-esteem people, we know where it's at. Low self-esteem, passive aggressive, indirect communicators, they don't know healthy boundaries. In fact, let me share with you all what codependent people do. Yes, it's lovely Patrick Tiahan. He has this great little infographic. You can go check it out on his YouTube channel right here. Okay, it's at Patrick Tiahan Official. So codependency types. We have the ones who are the doing takeover. They change others. They want to. They're martyrs, superiors, self-important. They need to suggest and they push it. Then we have the caretakers of others. Those are people please. They self-blame. They focus on others and they need to be needed. And then it's they let it go. So they continue to let go things. And inside there's boundary problems, control problems, indirect communication, manipulative, passive aggressive, and low self-esteem. So this is where, as Terry Rio points out, when he shares what unhealthy boundaries look like on his ends of the scale. So he has this little graph, healthy self-worth. Those of us who know true love, that's why we give to those who want the opportunity to show you the way of emotional, mental, and physical intelligence. Okay, so I'm going to show you by being a ventral vagal state. That's why it's not no emotion. It's just that I know how to be present as Pacha, as Maria. And so I'm not afraid that you're going to reject me because of who I am, what I am. And as our lovely Sadhguru shares in today's quote on his website on YouTube, you can find him. Courageous people do idiotic things. Fearful people do little. Fearless people see life as it is and do what is needed. Also, another one of his good quotes, not that one. When things go wrong in life, this is when it shows who you are and who others are, is what I'm going to add. When things go well, everyone can be fantastic, pretend to be fantastic, basically hang out with anybody. But also, another one of his quotes that I want to make sure I can get into the room before we move forward. Here it is. Nope, as always. This one catches my eye. He has a lot of different pictures, this one. If you have been put through unpleasant situations in life, you should be sensible enough not to put anyone else in such situations. And nobody's going to be sensible, because the sensible is not what comes from those who are in their biological rudeness, as Stephen Porges will point out. In fact, as Bessel van der Kolk points out, when you're traumatized, abused, neglected, you start developing heartache and gut wrench as it gets expressed somewhere in the midline of your body. That's where trauma is experienced. But you'll notice that people will disregard that they bring their trauma charges and their mannerisms, maladaptive or adaptive child, to the room. Excuse me, you're confusing science and spirituality. That is an adaptive child. They interrupted me. They had to make, because it didn't stop there. I said, no, I'm not. I'm bringing them together. No, because you see, I'm a mystic too. Now they're comparing themselves. They're controlling the situation. I'm like, okay, wait, maybe pause my conversation. Maybe I didn't explain myself effectively enough. This is what I do. No. And now I got show and tell. So I got an actual active 3-year-old in a room with a 16-year-old leading the way. That's exactly what an adaptive child part is. Maladaptive just makes it that they do drugs, fucking, drinking, basically bullshit stuff. So to me, not Lucifer, not fallen angel. As I was trying to say, your free will from a God or sciences, they're the same. You can go get healed and get into functional adult, or, so what was it, Terrible? So unhealthy self-worth, with avoidant over here and anxious over here, and we got the shame ones, manipulative, desperate, and I'm not decent enough to be saluted. Okay, there's that one. This one's locked up at home, heart closed, on the floor. I'm going to kill myself now because, and I should have said trigger alert, because I don't mean anything. Hopefully to get over it. And then we got the ones in grandiosity. On shame, we have the squirrel from Cusco land. They look fabulous. No, they don't. And there's your distorted feminine, or your vindictive masculine. Either or, the energy is the same, where they're going to actually justify their mannerisms. It's like a poisonous snake, that venom. So I'm going to give you a story of that one, and I got 2 that I'm thinking of, but I'm going to keep it vague. Whether it's a masculine or distorted feminine, they allow themselves to say, I did what I did because you deserved it. And no, I didn't. And it's in the feeling, but they're going to justify it because they don't choose to go to a Patrick Tian to love themselves first, or Terry Real. No, they continue to be codependent, low self-esteem types in their lifestyle of all, not just their relationships. So we got Diego's family, but we got Diego's family hanging out with all people, and that mannerism isn't something like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of them. Let me go and tell you what to know. I'm not afraid of you. You're following 7 of 14 buffoons. Again, God is benevolent. Why? Because they're not wanting to do the work. They don't want to go and heal because it's that painful, the gut wrench stuff. They're allowing themselves to justify their mannerisms by saying that transgenerational cultural trauma and everything that the good therapists are saying of how to manage to self-regulate. In fact, Fancy Lady has one of stop trying to regulate yourself. It's not inherently true that it's healthy and enlightenment to be non-reactive. Sure. It's dangerous to show no emotion. Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about because you don't know what ventral vagal state is, lady. And there's our grandiosity up here. I left you because I'm better than you. And the avoidance is out doing who knows what. The grass is green over there. Sure it is. Again, have fun. And what do we find out of all the codependent types? That they end up dating people, and those people are all strombolies, and they all continue to allow themselves to make up excuses for everything. Believe me, it's fabulous. No, it's not, I'm being sarcastic. When I see people who think they know love and they talk to me about men and women, as a teenager, I just thought teenagers. And now I'm a grown up and now I know, okay. And whenever I mention therapy, they now know, the ones who are women and men, because the people who we get to hang out with end up finding out what you believe in. And I believe in smart people going to therapy and leaving alone the people who don't know how to love. Or at the very bare minimum, don't date somebody who is emotionally unavailable, and don't talk to me about drama, because there's no drama. It's emotional unavailable person. They don't know how to love. So why are you still thinking of it as a relationship in and of itself? Which is why twin flame, it's not tragedy the way you've seen people do it online. Those are all people who don't know healthy self-worth. And they, in fact, didn't go to therapy. They just created a bunch of groups so that they could hang out together and cheer each other on like teenagers would do. I didn't cheer my teenage men friends or women friends, and I don't cheer anybody on. I say, okay, if you stay in the neutral zone, I'm going to be okay. The minute you start becoming a person who's becoming quite upset at somebody and you're using words that are really strong, I'm going to say, okay, look, we don't armchair diagnose people, and a good therapist won't have you using words for a person because they have not actively met the person, nor have they given them the adult attachment interview. They haven't analyzed any of their history. So please, can we, talk about you and disregard and disengage from talking about another human being? And again, oh yeah, any good therapist doesn't box anybody else up. You, them. Oh, they also don't tell you that personality disorders are unhealable or that trauma is unhealable. Any one of those are the same ones that God gave everyone who doesn't want to do the work to get their inner child online, you see? Yeah, that's why true love, I get to share with you how to be you by allowing myself to not make demons out of anyone, romance out of anyone. It's why we don't justify and we don't dehumanize. All people have options. It's called, either you can continue pretending to know life as a Cusco, and you will know life like any of my facade friends do. They know everything. Like the man, excuse me, you interrupt. Yeah, sure, okay, I'm doing whatever. Yeah, and then you keep moving forward, and then we hang out here. Come on over, smart people. So when you're mentally, emotionally, and physically intelligent, that's when you do know, I love to love, and my baby, he, they, she, and it loves to love, and loves to laugh, and loves to learn, and loves to expand, and loves to not cast stones, because we don't do a flag in the wind. We have a flag post. So when you're empowered, we're going to talk about this one. You will be a masculine who will have taken ownership of his own feminine, or feminine who will have taken ownership of her own masculine. That means you get to be yourself. So you're not ashamed of anything that you have done, and it doesn't matter what other people tell you in your face, behind your back, none of it. You have integrity, and so you get to share what is called, stupid people think you have no emotion. Smart people know you're a somatic empath, and therefore you're able to know if I'm in the presence of a person who doesn't own their somatic narrative, verbal narrative, I'm going to be Maria. And in my prefrontal, I'm going to sit, and as I'm appropriately recalibrating my nervous system, while yours might be doing whatever shit it is, I'm still attuning to you, because I don't need you to be on the same page as me. So I'll still be resonating, even if we're saying different things, and I'll still be trusting, because we'll be expanding consciousness. Once I'm out of the room, though, I'm definitely going to go and hang out with the ones who want to have fun like an inner child adult, which are all the smart people. Stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. So they do mindfulness living and loving for real, not pretend, and they're cool with spirituality folk like me. The mystic, woo-woo lady, pseudoscience. They don't be like, it's bullshit. Self-help is crap. No, not really. Not if you do emotions. If you want the Zen master who does laundry, then you go over there. That's a different story. We do the depths of our emotional, mental, and physical plane. So I show you, whether you're a lover or a person, your optimized human being version. This is not a special gift. This is my human makeup. I got lucky because I have a whole 1-year-old, a whole 3-year-old. I did get a child-centric environment, and then I got attachment trauma informed, so I can add to what we were already talking about at the very beginning of all IHP content. Be yourself. Dealing with unknowns, unexpecteds, unwanteds from an open heart within you, by knowing your heart and going with the flow. So your ability to use the inner growth mindset is because you want to do mental and emotional mastery of you and physical mastery of you. And so true love is where, as a feminine, in fact, I don't capture you. If I'm a true feminine, the distorted ones capture masculines. As this rabbi points out, masculines have infinite potential of life. But nothing comes of that until they are captured, contained, given limitations, and nurtured. And with gender stereotypes, he's making it into men have a hard time to commit, and women, they want to nurture everything, and it's painful for them to start something new. And no, it's not, Rabbi. You don't know what a feminine is, or a woman for that matter that's empowered. We will be very happy to not get that text back and to have silence, because a man who has a hard time to commit. oh, I find that hilarious. So I'm going to leave that alone for our next episode, because again, feminine, as God shared with me, you have free will. I'm not going to make you into anything. You are going to get to live the life that you want. My hands are off. I'm not capturing you. I'm going to be able to have a ventral vagal tone with you, present my equation as a functional adult human being, whether I was a teenager or grown up. That's how feminine is. So the minute that I'm aware that in my presence I have somebody who is afraid of emotions, I don't have a lover. I don't even know what I got really going on. It all depends on what. But I do know courageous people do idiotic things, fearful people do little, and fearless people see life as it is and do what is needed. Sadhguru, thank you. So the ones of us who are fearless, because the minute that I know you're afraid of love, I'm going to try to make it into a safe haven, secure base environment. And then the minute that I notice, though, that you're not actually a person who is treating me with the same, you know what I mean, communicative openness, then I'm going to start to notice that I have a facade. And thanks to my facade friend, I know what to do with that. It's called I don't address the ego in the room. I allow myself to recalibrate so that I may allow you to continue feeling safe to be yourself, because your Cusco attitude doesn't make me afraid of being Maria. Maria is still Maria. You put a mask on me every time you speak, so I know you're just a person who uses a mouth. Your heart may be there, may not be there. I'm building a genuine relationship. You're building whatever you think you're building. And at the end of the day, we're both happy, which is why, again, God is benevolent, giving people the capacity to stay in their unsecure bodies with fancy men and women in suits who they follow because they want to. Because the adaptive child is actually a child who thinks that they know what everyone has to live life like. Oh, it's fascinating to see. No, it's not. But they think they know what they're doing. Like the fancy man who, whenever he's on screen, he actually, what makes me laugh every time I'm watching any of them is like, wow, you're so in love with yourself. I can't even begin to say how many people. But then again, the masses, they do like to follow those who look pretty in suits, because they can't seem to hear the tone, because they don't, again, take themselves seriously when they're in a mood. And justifying your mood, justifying a Cusco attitude, a squirrel attitude, when you see it in person, if I had a coin for every time I've seen it, I think I'd be a millionaire by now. I really don't. I'd have to do the math, but I don't work that way. So I luckily can share with you all. Our oversoul as a feminine continues to allow us to make the same conscious choice. I like to be Maria. So when you have a whole inner child that doesn't get broken, it's because the eternal child within me doesn't find it a dead end when you tell me, as a 4-year-old, I got rejected. They didn't want me to go around the block. 2 boys, they brought my twin. I got explained, you're different. It's not bad, it's not good. You just want to read to them and sit them down, and they want to play life differently. So this is where I learned how people like to play life differently. It's not personal. And you learn how to be your own, again, father and mother, your own safe haven, secure base, and your own little star. It's really fun, by the way. So as we shared yesterday, true love is I want you to be happy with or without me. I'm going to be happy with or without you because I know how to love myself first. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to be a mentor to anybody to help you be yourself. But I did find out that to be yourself, you need to have all your child parts on board and a window welcome to emotional stuff. So if you don't, you're not going to be yourself. You're just going to be, show yourself. I'm dying to meet you. And those pretenders are definitely out there. On that note, mindfully living and loving. It's really fun, and spiritually living and loving. Come on back for more later. We're going to have some, a little bit more, one more episode, I think, because there's some more chit chat about those who are here to love to love and love to live and love to laugh and love to learn and love to expand and not cast stones because we get together. Let's get together. Yeah. So true love would be where, again, a parent. I'm going to equate it to our parents because that's where when you learn what a good parent in the sense of the attachment part, and all parents do their best, as Dr. Daniel Siegel and all good therapists say, please let's not categorize people in good or bad, which is what we don't do here, but good meaning the effective way. Okay, so attachment theory, I believe is what it's called, shares a third of attunement and repairing ruptures. When you're doing that with your own self, because you're a whole self, that's why you build resiliency. And that's because with mindful awareness, mindfulness practices, and mindset, you work with the thoughts, and then you work with focusing, so attention and awareness. You're not overwhelmed because you have a window welcome to your emotions, and you do kind intention or neutral intention. But the kindness is needed because that love part is needed for your body to know, hey, it's cool. There's no physical threat. We're good. Activate your social engagement system. So that kindness allows you, also it allows you to make space between that which would be upset for a heartbreak or anger, it depends what emotion's coming up. And so you want to allow yourself to pause and then to contemplate with the inner growth mindset. That's what we do here, but it's with neutrality and duality. So it's once you're able to respect neutrality and duality that you're going to be that Jacob brain that rabbi talks to us about. So the balance of Isaac and Abraham. Isaac is internally oriented, Abraham is other. So that's self and other. Right here we have our default mode network. An integrated brain has a default mode network that's downregulated like mine, because I'm empowered to be Maria. No matter what you say about me, doesn't matter. I'm not ashamed. So I have integrity. And in my ventral vagal state, I stand, and the stupid people think it's no emotions. I found stupid people as a teenager. Just letting you know, I didn't have this mannerism only now. No, I've had it pretty much my entire life. I'm just mature with it now. I'm still practicing a little bit more of that, by the way. When I have some topics, I still get into my teenage version. But yeah, true love is not I'm going to capture you, make you mine, and then allow myself to not that's to let you open the door. I mean, if you do want to, that's really nice, but because you want to, not because you need to feel needed. You needing to feel needed tells me that you have yet to take ownership of your own essence of love and life, which means that you are not the 0-1-year-old of you, 3 to 7 your child parts. Okay, so it's very beautiful and empowering for people once they get into being in love with who they are first, which is then why they become true lovers, not pretend ones. That's for those of us who are empowered, a healthy self-worth. There are others who don't want this type of stuff. Again, God gives us options, or sciences with human evolution. The evolutionary psychologists explain to you all about this, existential psychologists. I mean, I could name a lot of subject matter experts. They're not pseudoscience. No, they're sciences. Neuroscientists explain it to you. In fact, we got an anthropology lady who explains to you everything about falling in love and why it takes time for you to get over a heartbreak and all that. And so that's the beauty of bringing all of it together, though, because I love to love the spirituality way with the mystic fun stories, because sciences can get really technical, and then it's like, well, we have a lot more imagination for real. Now, the in-between is the imagination plane, but we're not imagining things in the way of flat earthers, or the scientists who want to disprove reality with the eye, or the spirituality people who want to prove spirituality, like the planet. We also have people who don't believe the moon is real. You know, I mean, gosh, there's so many of those things going on out there. This is funny, right? So again, we'll be back in a little bit. Thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you do know people who enjoy doing mindfulness living and loving practices and mindset the self-empowered way with love in the forefront, send them on over. It's called Human Love Narratives, not Human Suffering. The human suffering is that other opportunity for the ones who don't want to be the choo-choo train that gets over the hump, because they don't want to go and do Patrick Tiahan, the good therapy. They say, find it hard to believe, the first years of life. So they ignore sciences completely. But they do love talking about Lucifer and evil. Yes, it's hilarious, isn't it? No, it's not. But it makes sense because they're in love with the story. And they're disregarding healing, because that's called I'm going to avoid healing. I'm going to continue with my maladaptive patterns, and I'm going to continue with my adaptive child narrative, to be harsh, unforgiving, and think I know everything. Oh, and that I know what the right way is for everybody to live, and it's going to be based on my ancient ancestors in the Scarlet Letter times and complete ignorant human beings talking out of their mouths. Oh my gosh, it's so hilarious, the masses. So not all of the masses, obviously, just the group that likes to be Cusco type attitude. And we'll be back again in a little bit, because otherwise I'm going to keep going. Again, like, share, and subscribe. And if you won't be back, thank you for using your lovely time here. It's really a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you back again. If you have enjoyed, and if you have a funny bone and more. So we'll be back again.